Good evening, foster care family, friends, professionals. I just want to go straight in this evening. Most of the time, when people hear a baby has been born addicted to drugs, their initial reaction is horror, fear, and extreme sadness. The first thing I believe people think is get that baby away from that horrid, abusive mother immediately. If most people experience, as I have, the severity of the infant symptoms, they would probably develop disdain for the mother and wish for her to receive some type of punishment. But what if you were handed solid evidence that the best method for the baby's symptoms and the road to recovery is the breast milk of the mother? Again, I can hear all the comments. I hear it. What is poisonous, tainted, drug infested? The breast milk of the mother. Well, guys, research now proves that breastfeeding by birth mothers and recovery programs can significantly help babies diagnosed with neonatal abstinence syndrome. As we all know, it's also known as NAS. However, hospitals, foster care parents, and birth mothers fail to see the best methods for the baby's recovery and always default to substandard cheap formula. You guys, I'm tired of seeing the infamil. Seriously, it's the worst. And birth mothers, according to research articles, don't receive the education they need about the benefits of breastfeeding their baby to recover from NAS and lessen the severeness of the symptoms. Additionally, foster parents are not educated as to breastfeeding being the most important aspect of recovery for their NAS infants in their care. My argument is that social service agencies should work with foster care policymakers and create policies and practices that support both the birth mother's education about breastfeeding as the best practice for NAS infants and provide programs and even incentives for foster parents to support these breastfeeding visits from their mothers. We need help, guys. I'm speaking for the foster parents. This means educating mothers and foster parents, establishing clear policies, and getting the cooperation from the hospital NICUs. So what is NAS? I'm sure most of you know. My audience is very educated in these areas. But for the masses, neonatal abstinence syndrome is the diagnosis received when a baby is exposed to drugs or other substances in the womb and is now experiencing withdrawal symptoms after being born. These symptoms vary in severity and can include tremors, high-pitched crying, difficulty feeding and sleeping, and extreme irritability for these babies. Most of the time, these babies go directly from the neonatal intensive care unit into emergency foster care. But while in the hospital, the NICU staff usually defaults to bottle feeding formula. I want to venture to say that this may be because it's the cheapest option, but I don't want to judge the healthcare system as a whole, and none of my research supports that is the reason for choosing usually infamil, gentle ease is what I've seen mostly. However, in my research, many articles suggest that this is just not the best practice for the speediest recovery of the baby. In all the articles that I have reviewed, the studies show repeatedly that the birth mother breastfeeding actually reduces how severe the withdrawal symptoms are in babies born with NAS. It can shorten their hospital stays. That's important. The research also shows that the benefits of breastfeeding, like skin to skin with mom, have reduced the need of pharmacological treatment and have brought about fewer symptoms. Pharmacologic treatment is the use of pharmaceutical drugs to treat or manage the withdrawal symptoms of NAS babies. Breastfeeding reduces this. This is because the mother gets drugs through the recovery treatment that are passed on to the infant while breastfeeding. So the baby is in turn getting little small amounts of that drug that assists the mom with her withdrawal symptoms. And this helps the infant in turn. Another article that I researched says that breast milk benefits from birth mom and foster care homes. Explain that foster care parents are apprehensive about birth moms breastfeeding because babies have a harder time after the mom leaves. They're concerned about social issues. The baby being able to readapt after the mom leaves and they build that bond and that connection. This bothers me because at the heart of foster care is the reunification of baby to mom. So foster parents should be in complete support of this bonding happening to assist in the reunification process. But I digress. These articles also state that the lack of education for birth moms and foster parents is the primary reason for the low breastfeeding numbers. We have to get those numbers up, guys. As a foster parent myself, and having now experienced caring for babies with NAS diagnosis more than once for extended periods of time, I have personally experienced how hard it is to watch a baby suffer with these symptoms. It's excruciating. The scream, the high-pitched scream, is piercing. It pierces not only your ear, but your heart. Because there's nothing you can do but show that baby love. So I have grappled with my anger, my frustration, and my disdain for the parents. All those complicated feelings eventually turn to sympathy for the parents. They've had their own very serious struggles. Most of them have struggles that run deep from childhood. I know that was the case with the parents that I worked with. Unfortunately, the parents of the children I worked with had no foster parents that were reliable to step in and to love them through their hardships. These parents had no one like my husband and myself to support them through struggles. And so they fell to substance abuse to cope. I watched my baby's birth mom struggle to make the hard decision to step back from her child that she obviously loved because she wanted a better life for her. I strongly feel that had she and myself been educated early on about the benefits of breastfeeding her baby, she would have done so, and I would have allowed it. If I had been educated on all the benefits to assist my baby girl in her withdrawal, in her recovery process, and I had wraparound supports to help foster the visits with mom, I definitely would have done so without a doubt. I'm a 100% my husband would have also been on board. Without education about the research and recovery programs, breastfeeding can feel unsafe and even irresponsible to birth and foster parents. But research shows that when birth mothers are in recovery programs, breastfeeding is not only safe, it is best for baby. With this education, if this education is pushed, it is believed that mothers in recovery will breastfeed. When foster parents are educated about the actual medical research and they are supported by social services, many of their concerns will be addressed. so that they can support these breastfeeding visits. So, what do? I believe that right now there is a gap between the policies, medical research, and foster care best practices. There's a major gap, guys. Research supports breastfeeding when mom is in recovery, but hospitals, social workers, and foster care homes do not seem to be structured to support this. Birth mothers may not be receiving the needed education that breastfeeding is even an option. I'm here to testify. Foster parents are not receiving guidance and encouragement about how to support breastfeeding mothers. I've dealt with multiple agencies. They're not getting guidance that lets them know this is best for baby and how this could work safely in their homes. Social work agencies may not be receiving directives that clear protocols are needed to be created to help encourage breastfeeding in these foster homes. Because of this, infants who could benefit from breastfeeding may never receive those benefits. We are all, as a collective, failing them. These reasons are exactly why a policy change is necessary. Social agencies and foster care agencies alike should push policymakers within their organizations to create practices that educate birth mothers on the benefits of getting into a recovery program and breastfeeding. Provide clear guidance for foster parents caring for NAS babies. Encourage cooperation between hospital NICUs, social workers, and breastfeeding mothers to create space for them to breastfeed. The downfall. If clear education and policies are put in place, the health of the baby over social issues that the foster parents are concerned about will not fail. That's the downfall. We failed the baby. So my proposal is wraparound services for foster care parents. Let's rally hospital NICU workers to push educating birth mothers before they leave that hospital, ashamed that they've left their babies in the unit. They're screaming and hollering and addicted to the drug that they failed to get themselves off of. Let's get them to rally those mothers to breastfeed their babies, to get into a recovery program. Let's push our policymakers to provide policy and guidance in these areas. And let's save our babies.